Hello everyone, welcome to a new video. I hope you had a great day. Today we are looking at some new malicious compliance stories. I hope you enjoy them. If you like the video, don't forget to hit the like button. And if you are new here, don't forget to subscribe. The first story is called Want Me to Follow the System? I worked for 3 months during Christmas at a retail store. My wife was a middle manager and they needed some help in the inventory and stock room. My company was just getting off the ground, my chosen field was all but dead, so why not work a few months? Anyway, I got put in the bag during the day. For 6 hours during my shift at the top of the hour I would use a PDA to pull items from the storeroom so the floor could put them on the shelf. The basis behind the system was as things were sold, it was pulled from the bag and, if possible, it would keep the shelves full. Just one problem, it had a major glitch. If you locked something into the back room, then it will want you to pull it back the next hour, and it was awful. Put 1 can of green beans into the backroom inventory and the next hour it will tell you to pull 500 cans for example. So basically the morning truck shift would put in the back anything that didn't fit on the shelves. And at noon it would tell me to pull all of it down. So we used a burn system. Basically we told it only when it glitched that we pulled it and there were more on the shelves in that location. Easy enough, and it worked. I only had to do that on the first pull of my shift. Anything from the floor that needed to be put back I did after the hourly pulls were done. The opening guys would then burn those that needed it. A clean and efficient system, until we got a new manager. The first day, that manager taught me a new one. I was not allowed to burn any pulls and was not allowed to have any backstock sitting. If it came back, I had to immediately shelf it and any pulls the system listed were to be pulled. This turned into a giant mess. Instead of the sales floor having a small cart every hour, I was forced to use pallets. All the backstock from the truck went out on the first pull, and when 99% of that came back, it went back on the shelves and was pulled back the next hour. The PDA says that I need to pull 150 gallons of bleach. Well, I only have 60 on the shelf, so here are all of them. It got bad, pallets all over the store. The sales floor spent all their time trying to stock the stuff, so nothing got cleaned. It was a nightmare, everyone was mad and the manager couldn't understand why nothing was getting cleaned. This went on daily, 7 days a week for almost a month. The end of this came the day corporate did their yearly visit. So I'm back there and just got done with the pulls. There are 8 pallets for 6 sections. The corporate guy for inventory came back to talk to me and we discussed the glitch. Turns out they were aware of it and they started the burn system themselves until they could fix it. Also, that's why I had 2 hours at the end of my shift to backstock what needed to be backstocked. Needless to say, he wasn't happy. While the manager was technically correct according to store policy, they made exemptions because of the bug. Which, I might add, they tried to fix later and made matters worse. The manager didn't last long because of that and other things. The next story is called Cake Compliance. This happened like 7 or 8 years ago when I was jobbing at a driving service while I was a student. The driving service was one for people with disabilities that could not drive or walk on their own. Our main office was in the building of a housing and working facility for disabled people. The 2 companies, our driver service and the housing facility, were loosely connected as they were both financed by the same organization. However, management-wise they were clearly separated. We were about 15 drivers at this location and we shared our lunch and social room with about 10 caretakers. Since our schedules were horribly organized, the drivers often had idle time, so the social room was where everybody hung around waiting for work. One day my boss, let's call him Tom, brought a cake to work because he became 60 and the cake was enormous. Like a wedding cake could hide behind it twice. I can only imagine how expensive it must have been. At 9, every driver had eaten some pieces and there was still like 80% left of it, so Tom told the caretakers they should feel free to take some. Then Karen happened. She was something like the security inspector of the facility. So she had authority over the caretakers, but no dealings with the driving service. Her job was to watch for potential hazards, organize the caretaker's schedule and generally having an eye on everything happening. When she heard there was a cake, she was furious. She and Tom couldn't stand each other, so she was always trying to ruin his day. In this particular instance, she claimed the cake was a health hazard as it contained cream, and she could not verify whether the cooling chain was never broken during transport. So she threw it all away. Roughly 400 euros worth of food just thrown away. Needless to say, Tom was less than amused. He went extremely mad. He was usually a very calm and gentle man, and this was the only time I have ever heard him shouting at someone. Still, there was nothing he could do. Karen could basically declare anything a hazard and take action how she saw fit, and her higher up didn't really care. To make matters worse, she doubled down. She demanded that every food that was brought into the social room had to be inspected by her first. Cue malicious compliance. Obviously, all the drivers were mad at Karen for upsetting Tom and for throwing away a perfectly fine cake. So the next day, first thing in the morning, 15 drivers went to her office. Everyone with his lunch, demanding she inspect it. It took her roughly 10 minutes looking at sandwiches and answering questions about whether mayonnaise was too hazardous to be brought. This went on for the whole week, each day our questions about hazardous foods becoming more dumb and degenerate. On Friday it took her more than 2 hours to inspect our lunch, as we would collectively steal her time. Afternoon she said she got the message and that sandwiches got her general okay and not to bother her with it anymore. Fine. The following week we went out of our way to eat anything but sandwiches, salads, cake, pretzels, normal lunch stuff. Every day there was a line in front of her office having the lunch checked and asking stupid questions whether this food was or was not too dangerous to enter the social room. Karen was losing her patience, becoming increasingly aggressive towards us, but still refused to apologize to Tom. Then, at the end of week 2 of food checking, Tom brought a bucket for lunch. When he entered Karen's office to have his lunch checked, like he did every day, and opened the lid of his lunch pot, the smell hit everyone in the vicinity like a brick to the face. Apparently, he made some unholy mix of garlic, cream, pickles and herring, which he called fish soup. It looked like what happens if you leave something dead in the sun for too long. Karen looked as if she would puke any moment, commanding him to remove this monstrosity from her office. Tom asked if she didn't wanna check it, since he could imagine the cooling chain could have been broken during transport, or sometime in the last 2 weeks. The lot of us drivers laughed so hard, I swear someone nearly choked from laughter. This was roughly the time that Karen had to admit defeat. Food checking stopped immediately, and the following week Tom brought another cake. The last story is called "She Did Not Want to Listen." We have a customer who apparently got scared into finally becoming PCI compliant. My company handles this by using a third-party gateway that tokenizes the credit card data. We store that token, ensuring that even if a hacker got the data and decrypted it, there would be no credit card numbers or cardholder information obtained. Anyway, this customer was one of our last holders to ye-olden days, when you were able to enter credit card numbers to be seen by all. They had been refusing to update their software for years because of this. There was much preparation required on their end. Primarily going through the software and transcribing credit card numbers from comment and note fields into actual credit card fields to be tokenized. We gave them 90 days from the software update until we enabled PCI compliance and wiped the database of credit card numbers. Each week we sent the management a warning email, reminding them that all credit card numbers will be wiped, and only the ones entered into the credit card fields will be automatically tokenized, while the rest will be purged. Day 0 arrives and they tell us they are ready to flip the magic switch. We do some spot checking of customer data and see that almost no credit card numbers have been entered into the proper credit card field. I believe the actual number of properly handled credit card numbers was under 15%. We let them know what we found and provide about 100 examples for them to double check, telling them that they need to check the rest of their accounts as well. A couple of hours later, we get an angry call from the general manager, wanting to know why their fancy new credit card machines still haven't been enabled. So we explained the situation to her and forwarded the previous emails to her, which she had already been included in, but whatever. She tells us what a huge disappointment we are and that for what she's paying us we need to get this done now. We have her email back that she understands our concerns and that she is authorizing us to go ahead. 5 minutes later, the irreversible deed is done. I say irreversible because this customer didn't use our backup service and had neglected to maintain their own backups despite our insistence that it be done before the update and before forcing PCI compliance. A couple of weeks later, and the GM calls us, wanting us to figure out why the credit card deposits don't reflect the business they've been doing. She has noticed a trend, she says, that only credit cards processed since the implementation of PCI compliance measures are showing up in her batches. This is when we remind her of our previous communications and her insistence that we proceed despite our protests. She demands that we recover her data for her, and again we have to remind her of our previous communications, that they are responsible for all backups. Apparently she hadn't been reading anything at all and just thought making demands was going to get the job done properly. Thankfully they only lost a couple of weeks of transactions and learned that from that point on to ask for a credit card when the card on file is missing. This person is still the general manager, but has started using our hosted software solution, which at least now guarantees proper backup. Thanks for watching the video, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel for more content. Let me know what you think about the stories in the comment section below. Have a great day, bye bye!